At first, everything felt perfect. Love, freedom, ease. She laughed, he believed. They weren't in a rush to grow up, didn't think about kids, just enjoyed each other. He thought he knew her by heart, every spark in her eyes, every nervous twitch. But one trip, one week, one stranger's hand on her shoulder, and it all came crashing down. Not instantly. First came the subtle tension, the sparse messages, the fake smiles. Then, a night with someone else, a lie, and finally the kind of silence that chills your blood, when the person you love becomes a stranger and every word is a splinter under your skin. But in that chaos, there's also freedom. Sometimes, to truly start living, you have to walk through the ashes. Hello, my friend. I'm so glad you stopped by my channel. If you're here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends or family. It really helps my channel a lot. Please tell me in which city or country you watch this video. I value every one of your comments. So let's get started. By the time Melissa and I stepped into our third year as husband and wife, everything felt like second nature. We hadn't felt any pressure to jump into the parenting pool, and frankly, we loved the freedom that came with it. Spontaneous road trips, back-to-back late-night movies, the thrill of acting on a whim. It suited us perfectly. Melissa had this spark, this electricity that seemed to charge any space she walked into. She was sharp, playful, and just unpredictable enough to keep life interesting. But lying? That was never her strong suit. The truth always had a way of showing up in her eyes. I noticed it early on, back when we were still finding our rhythm. Whenever she tried to be dishonest, her gaze would drift and her hands would fidget, like her body was trying to run from the words. I didn't think much of it. If anything, I found it oddly charming, like I had my own personal radar for truth. That spring, she began hinting at the idea of getting away for real. She said work was burning her out, and what she needed was a full reset. Sunshine, ocean breeze, fruity cocktails, zero obligations. I didn't jump at the idea. I was buried under a critical deadline at the office, and vanishing for a couple weeks just wasn't realistic. Besides, I never loved beaches. I'd pick a cozy cabin in the woods or a lively city weekend over sand and surf any day. Then one night over dinner, Melissa set her fork down and casually mentioned going without me. The suggestion hit a nerve. The thought of her sprawled out on some tropical beach while I was stuck behind a desk, it didn't sit right. But she quickly followed up with, "I'd be with Jolyn, just a girl's thing. Yoga at dawn, massages, nothing wild," she promised. Jolyn had recently wrapped up a rough divorce and was throwing herself into single life with the enthusiasm of a college freshman. I wasn't thrilled about the idea, but Melissa gave me this look from across the table, soft, pleading, like she genuinely needed the break. I hesitated, then gave her the okay. I wanted to believe in us. I needed to. "Go recharge," I told her. "Just promise me I won't see you on some trashy beach reality show," I joked. She clinked her glass against mine and grinned. Deal. That was that. At the time, I thought my willingness to let her go was proof of our strength. In hindsight, it was the first sign I didn't know how fragile trust really was. Watching her pack the night before her flight, none of it felt off. I even helped finalize her travel plans and slipped a little extra cash into her purse. She was glowing with anticipation, and I was happy for her, truly. We were solid, or so I believed. I had no reason to question anything. I didn't realize then that I just opened the door to the worst decision of my life. Melissa left on a Wednesday morning. I drove her to the airport, kissed her goodbye, and told her to enjoy every second. The first few days were exactly what you'd expect. Beach selfies, silly clips of Jolyn falling into waves, snapshots of paradise. She'd send me messages late at night. "Miss you. Wish you were here." And I missed her more than I expected. The house felt too quiet without her laugh echoing through the rooms. But by day 5, her texts slowed to a trickle. No more evening calls, no sunny updates. I told myself she was just caught up in the moment. Or maybe the signal was bad. Still, a strange tension settled in my chest. That night, around midnight, I texted her a simple, "Good night, babe." It stayed marked as read for hours before she finally replied. Exhausted. Love you. It wasn't like her. Melissa always added a heart, a nickname, a private joke. This one felt robotic. The next morning, I tried texting again. Nothing. Called her around noon, straight to voicemail. I told myself not to spiral. Maybe they were out on a boat. Maybe Wi-Fi was spotty. Jolyn was always dragging her along on some unpredictable adventure. But that night, lying alone, the silence around me thickened. Something didn't feel right. When she finally reached out 2 days later, it was a blurry photo of a market and a vague message. Busy day. We'll catch up soon. No miss you, no love you. I stared at that message for a long time, and for the first time, doubt sank its teeth in deep. That should have been the moment I listened to my gut. But I didn't. I kept telling myself to wait. She'd be home soon. I'd get answers then. Maybe I was overthinking, or maybe everything I knew was about to come undone. Melissa flew back in late Sunday afternoon. I waited at the airport by baggage claim, a mess of nerves and anticipation. She looked incredible, sun-kissed, glowing, maybe too glowing. She ran into my arms like everything was normal. "I missed you so much," she whispered, holding me like it meant something. I held her, but something was off. It felt like hugging someone who wore her scent but didn't carry her warmth. On the drive home, she talked non-stop about the food, the parties, the sunsets. It was all Jolyn this, Jolyn that. Her words felt rehearsed, like a script she'd memorized. When we got home, she dropped her suitcase in the living room and let out a sigh. "I need a long shower," she said, already climbing the stairs. I lingered by the suitcase, hands deep in my pockets. "Hey," I said, half laughing. "You didn't forget to bring me back something, did you?" She laughed too quickly. "Of course not. Just give me a second." Melissa knelt by her half-packed suitcase, fingers rummaging through a disorderly stack of clothes. As she shifted a few items aside, something unusual caught my eye, a brief flash of vivid color. It was lace, expensive, fine, and unmistakably not her style, not even close. I didn't say anything. I just watched her quietly. Then she paused, just for a heartbeat, but I noticed. Her hand hovered, hesitant, over a small black pouch tucked between a pair of jeans and a floral sundress. She picked it up gingerly, like it might burn her, and held it out toward me. "Got you some rum from the island," she said with a smile that faltered at the edges. "Locals swear it's the good stuff." I accepted the pouch and peeked inside. Nestled in a cheap souvenir t-shirt was a bottle, its label worn and sun-bleached, a cartoon dolphin grinning up at me. "Thanks," I said, setting it down. She let out a laugh, too sharp, too forced, then pushed the suitcase aside and slipped into the bathroom. I was left standing there, rum in one hand, that ridiculous shirt in the other, suddenly wondering, truly wondering, what exactly had gone on during the week she'd fallen off the map. In the days that followed, I tried to swallow the doubt, to pretend it was nothing. Melissa acted normal, maybe too normal. She cooked dinner like always, laughed at my same tired jokes, even suggested movie night like we used to. But the harder she leaned into routine, the more every little detail screamed at me. Her phone never left her side. The lock screen had changed. New code. Messages would light up the screen late into the night. She'd glance, then flip it face down like a reflex. One evening, while she was in the shower, her phone vibrated on the bathroom counter. I looked. A name flashed across the screen. Ben. There was a small photo beside it. Tanned, smug, shirtless. The kind of guy who looked like he thought the world owed him something. I didn't know a Ben. When Melissa emerged, wrapped in a towel, I kept my tone light. "Who's Ben?" I asked. Her posture shifted, just slightly, but I caught it. Then came a casual laugh. "Oh, some guy Jolynn and I met on the island. He ran snorkeling tours. Totally harmless." I nodded, didn't press. "Right," I said. "Harmless guys don't text you past midnight." Her expression tensed. "You're reading too much into this, Jacob." "Seriously." She gave me a kiss on the cheek, brief, rehearsed, and walked off into the bedroom. That night, while she slept peacefully beside me, I stared at the ceiling, my thoughts spiraling. The next morning, once she'd left to grab groceries, I opened my laptop and searched the resort's Instagram. I scrolled through endless images, smiling tourists, ocean views, beach bonfires. Then I found it, a video, nighttime party on the beach, a bonfire blazing, music thumping in the background. And there she was, Melissa, laughing, swaying, drink in hand, and right next to her, Ben. His arm wrapped casually around her shoulders, like it belonged there. I recognized him instantly, same smirk from the phone photo. No work gear, no snorkel, just bare chest and a look in his eyes like he'd already had her. Their faces close, too close, like they were one beat away from a kiss. I leaned back in my chair, my whole body going numb. This wasn't a getaway. She'd stepped into another life the second she landed on that island. And now she was back here, looking me in the eye and pretending it hadn't happened. That evening, after dinner, I couldn't hold it in anymore. She was curled up on the couch, scrolling through her phone, acting like everything was fine. I placed my beer down on the table, firmly. "We need to talk." She looked up, unfazed. "About what?" "Ben," I said, voice flat. Her smile faltered. "Told you he's nobody." I didn't let her continue. "I saw the videos, from the resort's page. You were hanging off him like some teenage fangirl." Her hands froze mid-scroll, the color draining from her face. "It was just dancing," she said, voice tight and defensive. "Dancing?" I leaned forward. "You were 2 seconds away from kissing him." Silence. I waited, gave her a chance to tell the truth, to own it. But she just shook her head, stubborn. "You're being paranoid, Jacob. You're making this into something it's not." And there it was. The lie. She wouldn't even look at me. Her fingers twitched at the hem of her shirt, an old nervous habit. "You slept with him," I said. Not a question, a statement. Her lips parted, then closed again. "No," she murmured. But her face said everything, and in that moment, something inside me snapped. She wasn't sorry, not for the cheating, just for getting caught. I stood up. "Start packing." She blinked, like I'd spoken in a language she didn't understand. "Jacob, wait." "Now, Melissa." Her voice cracked. She started crying, soft, broken. But I didn't move. I wasn't letting her rewrite the story. 15 minutes later, she was stuffing clothes into her suitcase, wiping her face with trembling hands. She paused in the doorway, luggage in tow, mascara streaked down her cheeks. "It didn't mean anything," she whispered. "I swear." I didn't say a thing. Just closed the door behind her, turned the lock, and stood still. Once Melissa was gone, the house felt abandoned, like even the echoes had followed her out. I hovered near the entryway for a while, then eventually flicked off the porch light and trudged to bed. The days after that felt like a blur of exhaustion and quiet torment. I kept everything bottled up, buried myself in routines, work, sleep, repeat, anything to keep my thoughts from wandering too far into the pain. Then one afternoon, Jolynn called. "Jacob," she said, voice tight, cautious. "I think you should know. Melissa's not doing too great." I kept my tone flat. "Actions come with a price." There was a pause. Then she added, "She went to a clinic. Jolynn said Melissa hadn't been feeling right. They did some tests." I waited, silent. Then Jolynn just said it, rushed, like ripping off a bandage. She tested positive for an STD. She figured you should get tested too. That was the last punch, the final shard of glass in an already shattered picture. Even after everything she'd ruined, Melissa had left behind one last wound. I thanked Jolynn, ended the call, and sat there in a heavy silence. I wasn't furious in that moment. The anger was too weighty to flare. It just sat there, thick and suffocating. The next morning, I went and got tested. Fortunately, everything came back clean. 2 weeks later, I filed for divorce. No drawn-out battles, no yelling over who got what. She didn't contest a single term. A mutual friend later mentioned that Melissa had ended up in a tiny studio apartment across town. Said she looked rough, thinner, paler, a little haunted. That same friend said Melissa had started minimizing it all, telling people it was just a stupid, meaningless fling during a trip. But sometimes, the little mistakes are the ones that cost you everything. You think when someone sets fire to your life, the smoke will choke you for years. But once the ashes settle, there's space to rebuild. Half a year after she walked out, the house finally felt like it was mine. I painted the walls, replaced the bed we used to share with something that had no memories attached. Fresh sheets, fresh start. I even took an actual vacation, not the kind you use to escape the wreckage, but the kind you take when you're ready to breathe again. I skipped the beaches, went up into the mountains instead. Clear skies, cold air, silence that didn't feel empty. I hiked all day and slept in places with no cell signal. Somewhere on a ridge, staring into a vast open valley, I realized the rage had melted away. I wasn't angry anymore. I was unburdened. Melissa reached out once, sent a long, meandering email filled with apologies and longing. I didn't reply. Didn't even read beyond the opening line. Just hit delete and kept moving. Not long after, I showed up to a barbecue at a friend's place. Jolynn was there too, with a new guy on her arm. At one point, I pulled him aside, quietly told him what really happened on that trip. Not out of spite, not to ruin anything. But if Jolynn was planning more girls' weekends, I figured he deserved the full picture. He didn't say much, just gave a small nod. Solemn. Tight. That was enough. I let it go. No need for revenge speeches or bitter closure. Just me, living the life Melissa threw away, and living it with peace. Sometimes I think about how close I came to spending forever chained to someone who didn't value it. Strangely enough, I'm grateful. She gave me clarity. She showed me exactly who she was, before there were children, shared mortgages, and milestone anniversaries tying us together. It was better to bury the marriage than bury myself in a constant effort to resuscitate something that was already gone. These days, I sleep better, knowing that the next time I give my heart away, it'll be to someone who knows how to look me in the eye when it truly counts. This story has come to an end. What's your opinion? Share it in the comments, my friend. And if you liked this story, check out other exciting videos on my channel. I'll say goodbye until the next video. See you.